So, as you could tell, I just got through running across the cornfields with my dogs to come over here on a Saturday and say hi to everybody. So I'll get better at this. We'll get higher quality in the editing room because I do all my own production too. Anyway, again, love you guys. Go say hi to somebody. Just wave at somebody. Start there. Just wave at some people. Younger people, older people. I did that backwards, didn't I? Younger people, older people. Just go out and say hi. Let's start. There was a hashtag that Barbie wants to get started. I'll have to look that up. I'll have to look through some of the old films. We need to be pulling together and discussing these items, and not be afraid to have a dinner. What do they call it? Table dinner, or around the dinner table. Politics is a device to keep this country moving forward. I know that all the people in the middle class want this country to keep moving forward. I also know that the politicians we have currently in place on both sides of the aisle, some way more than others, but we have a situation now where the politicians don't want us to necessarily move forward. They want, and our education and our information to be lower and lower so that they can control more. They have very perfect lives, really. And these are the things we don't understand. You know, we need to really be able to have the courage and have the patience to be looking at our politicians more directly, with more information. As I've said before, we have a utopia coming, and if we don't have control over our politicians, as that utopia comes, then we won't have that utopia. We will be moved into whatever needs that the country has, without the rewards. This middle class of America has been stronger and done more than my own. I know I'm biased, but than any other. As a matter of fact, all the middle classes, around the world, is what the economy is built on, and we have no say at how that money is spent. Well, that I promised you I would move around some of the intro videos, coming into the show videos. By the way, I really appreciate you guys starting to show up even earlier. We've got 45 people already on, which makes me think that this monologue thing is starting to work out a little bit. Hopefully it is. Leanna and I were just talking. I'm very jealous right now of her. Well, for many reasons, but what I'm talking about now, I'm very jealous of her. She lives in Arizona, suburb of the Phoenix area. Beautiful. You guys know Arizona, very beautiful. Southwest is a beautiful place, but right now it's not snowing. And I woke up this morning to about a foot of snow. First time in Oklahoma. Now, as you guys know, I'm from Chicago, so it's not that big of a deal. And my dogs, Boomer and Daisy, Boomer got to eat snow. He hasn't eaten snow for a winter. He loves eating snow, that freaking crazy ass dog. But, hey, we got 80 people on. I guess I better get started here. So welcome to Insights and Straight Talk with Rod Duff and producer Barbie. Today's conversation is one that every business owner, every entrepreneur, every leader, and honestly, anyone trying to build something real, you guys need to hear this one today. Because one of the hardest truths in business is this: you can't fix what you can't see. And producer Barbie, she calls it, you can't drink from an empty cup. You guys know that saying. And most people don't see their biggest problems until those problems come crashing through the door. By then, it's too late. That's why today matters. We spend a lot of time on this show talking about what's happening in America. what the great middle class is facing and why the world feels so heavy for people just trying to grow a business, run a household, or simply literally stay afloat. And that's the point. We all know by now our government doesn't care. They would rather you stay down. But today, we're pulling back the curtain a bit on something far more personal and far more common than most people ever realize, called blind spots. You know what I'm talking about. Not the obvious problems, not the loud ones. Those are easy. It's the quiet ones. It's the quiet ones, the ones that hide behind success. You know what I'm saying here. The ones that are disguised as, I'll take care of that later. It was a running joke in my office, which now I look back on. Thanks a lot, Leanna. I look back on it. We'll circle back around to this. And, that was probably the death of me now that I think about it. The ones you don't notice until they cost you momentum or money, confidence, or clarity. Today's guest doesn't just talk about blind spots. She eliminates them. Leanna DeBellevue is an international speaker, founder, a mentor, and business leader who spent 15 years running a global marketing agency that won award after award after award, including the 2024 Best Marketing Agency in the East Valley and the 2025 Business of the Year. There's more too. Then she did something most entrepreneurs never do. She sold her business at its peak, stepped out of the day-to-day, and stepped into her next chapter on her own terms. If you've ever wondered what it takes to build a business, grow a business, survive a business, and eventually free yourself from a business, you're about to hear it from somebody who's done it all with clarity and, of course, with conviction. But what makes Leanna different isn't just her success. It's I call it her ability to see what other people miss. She's worked with business owners around the world. There may be more now, but as far as I knew, 13 different countries at this point. And what she has discovered is the pattern behind the problems, the silent success blockers, the places where entrepreneurs sabotage themselves without ever realizing it, the marketing that looks good but doesn't move the needle, the strategy that is brilliant on paper but broken in real life, the systems that worked, 5 years ago, but quietly stopped working while everybody was just too busy to notice it. She's been featured in the Huffington Post, served as a Forbes council member. She's co-authored an international best-selling book. Not a lady who just sits around. and was she was inducted into the Who's Who in America in 2023. But again, none of that matters. Today, what matters today, it's because this is a conversation every middle-class family, every hustler, every builder, every dreamer, and every leader needs to hear this. Because no matter how confident you are, no matter how talented you are, no matter how much experience you have, you still have blind spots. Think about it. And those blind spots, they're not flaws. They're opportunities that are unclaimed. So here's what I want you, our live audience. What is there now? There's 258 of you on right now. I want every one of you to think about, as we start this conversation, what keeps showing up in your business or your career that you keep pushing off to someday? Where do you feel overwhelmed but keep pretending you're fine? What assumption have you built your entire strategy on that might not be true anymore? These are moments. Think about these. What success are you chasing because, I want to hover here for a minute. I'm going to start that again. What success are you chasing because you think you should, not because it actually fits your life. I wanted to say that a couple of times because producer Barbie said to me, God, what was this? Just not even a couple of weeks ago. She said, you know, Rod, I don't know why that got me emotional all of a sudden, but you started the machinery business and you grew that out of ego. This you're doing out of love. So what is it that actually fits your life? And here's the big one. If growth has felt slow or stuck or heavy or confusing, what if the bottleneck isn't your effort? What if it's your clarity? Leanna's going to talk about growth, okay, about resiliency, of course, and about blockers, about personal development, inside out, right? And the moments where business problems reveal life patterns and what it really takes to get out of your own way. This show is about helping the great middle class rise. That's our mission. Always has been, always will be. And today's guest brings one of the most practical, transformational frameworks we have ever talked about on this platform. I'm very excited about this. So grab your coffee, your tea, your kombucha, whatever you're drinking today, settle in and get ready for a conversation that will make you rethink how you operate, how you lead, and how you build. Because today, it's about unlocking growth. And growth always begins by seeing what you couldn't see before. Leanna DeBellevue, I messed it up right there, is in the building. So Leanna, make it look more professional. Help me out, and let's begin. How you doing, my new bestie?
That was an amazing introduction. Thank you very much. And I think we have so much alignment with what it means to be in the middle class and the importance of us collectively coming together and making a difference, making that needle move. So thank you for allowing me to be on today.
It's my pleasure, and thank you, because I don't think this early we've ever had 400 people on, ever. Wow. 414 to be exact right now. So obviously your message that we kind of announced or told people that you're coming on today, that message is one that carries. Oh God, we've already got a comment. What the hell are you guys doing? Oh my God, no, we got like 10 comments. All right, girl, I don't know what the heck whatever energy juice you got going on, you're bringing in the crowds. We got almost 500 now. So you're very welcome. I appreciate when we first kind of were passing information back and forth, obviously you having so much experience in the world of marketing, which is a personal love of mine. I love marketing. The best thing I loved about my machinery business was the sales and marketing. The rest of it, I could have done without, to be honest with you. But it is what it is. So as I always ask, Leanna, would you kind of just spend there's a ton of questions here, so maybe a little bit less than normal, but would you kind of give us I just like to hear what brings people to the place that brought them here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will tell you, so many people say that this is a lifelong dream. They always knew they wanted to be this or go into business ownership. It was not on my radar at all. I wanted to be a pediatrician from the time I was in second grade.
Oh, wow.
Up until high school. I went to college. I was pre-med. I knew what I wanted to be. There was no deterring my focus. And then I met a boy. And next thing I knew, we were married with a baby, and trying to do med school when you have a baby is not a good choice. And so, but I've always wanted to be a mom as much as I've wanted to be a pediatrician. So this was a beautiful blessing, right? But
absolutely,
definitely derailed my plans. And I had two
Those
children.
darn kids.
I know, right? I ended up with two beautiful children, a daughter and a son.
I'm
But
sorry, daughter and son?
yes, yep, daughter and son.
Daughter older or daughter younger?
Yes, daughter older. So they're 2 years apart. I have one that's, sometimes they're 3 years apart. Sometimes they're 2 years apart. I have 28-year-old and a 25-year-old, right? And
So they're already grown.
they're grown. They're grown at this point.
Oh, wow. Okay. Was she his mini mom growing up by any chance?
No, she was not a fan. Was not a fan of.
Oh, yeah.
So since then, I mean, obviously they've grown and they're fine. But no, at the beginning we were not excited about that at all. But it did stop my college career. And something magical happened at 30. And I realized, wait, this is not how I intended my life to go. I didn't have a college degree. I was married. I stayed home. And I think there's no harder job than being a stay-at-home mom, right? It is 24/7 and you don't have a lot of adult interaction. I mean, just it was a beautiful time in my life, but I also knew that I needed something a little bit more. My marriage ended after 15 years. And I went back to school and I thought I'll just go for like medical coding, something along those lines. I had a teacher pull me aside, said, why don't you do massage? And I said, well, I don't really like people and I really don't want to touch them. So, and then she told me what it paid. And I said, okay, I could do that. Right. Suddenly, as a single mom, you kind of do what you have to do. Long story short, I went to work for a chiropractor as his massage therapist. Insurance changed. I'm sure we all have a story about how insurance changed and, our life changed. And he called me in the office and said, I can't afford to pay you as a massage therapist anymore. Insurance doesn't pay. However, I definitely don't want to let you go. So I'd love to have you do marketing for us. And would you be open to it? I said, absolutely, 100%, no problem. Little did he know I had no idea what marketing meant, but I knew that I definitely wanted to remain employed. So I said, I got you. I sat down at my desk. I will never forget Googling what is marketing, right? A few minutes later, he came to me and I said, okay, well, what's my budget? What does this look like? And he said, you've got like $50. And I'm like, a day, an hour, a minute, like, what are we talking about? He was like, you don't understand. This insurance change has almost devastated us. It needs to be free marketing. And so I remember sitting down, Googling what is free marketing, right? Because at that point, that changed the name of the game. And I got rooted in my community, went to the local chamber. I started networking. At the time, they were Facebook fan pages. I started a fan page. And within 2 years, we had doubled our space. Instead of me being the only massage therapist, I had 4 in-office therapists and 24 event therapists working under us. And within 6 months of starting marketing, he had told me, there's no way I'm putting you back on the floor as a massage therapist. You're our marketer. And he did something and it gave me an amazing blessing. He told me, pick a title. Whatever your title is, pick a good title because that's going to be on your resume forever. And I was like, okay, what about like marketing manager? And he was like, think bigger. And I was like, okay, what about director? And he was like, director of marketing. And I was like, cool. And he goes, throw in public relations in there. And I was like, okay. I mean, it's the 4 of us in there. It didn't matter. I could have been called, the director of, the world, and it wouldn't have mattered. So, but he told me, he said that resume, that will build your resume from here on out. I trusted him. But he taught me how to make a business. And even though we had experienced a ton of growth, he was very, very frugal. I love him to death. I still see him around town. Pretty sure he still has the first dollar he ever made, right? But he taught me something very valuable, which was how to build a business with no budget, right? So about 3 years later, he called me to the office and he said, I think you need to go do this on your own. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, wait, am I getting fired? Like, what is happening? And he said, absolutely not. He said, you have what it takes, go do it on your own. I said, cool. First Friday comes, I'm used to a direct deposit. I'm used to like money just showing up in your account. That first Friday I woke up and I was like, wait a second, who's going to pay me? Like, what? I jumped into business ownership knowing nothing other than, it was something that sounded cool, right? Well, I figured out pretty quickly that rent still needed to be paid. My children still needed to be fed. Electricity needed to be on. And I thought, how in the world am I going to do this? And then I realized I just did it. I just did it in the last 3 years for someone else. Let me use those principles to do it for myself. Within 6 months, we had grown from 0 to 6 figures. And then I had a client, call me and say, hey, my brother works in Dubai. They want to work with an American company. Would you? And this is just a local guy that I knew from a networking event. It was nothing major. Dubai led me to London, London to Sweden, Sweden to Canada, all within a few months. And I was telling that to somebody and they're like, so you're an international company? And I was like, no, it's just me. And they were like, but you work in different countries. And I was like, yeah. And I think it was in that moment that I realized that I was genuinely creating something that was probably bigger than I'd ever given it credit for. I was just trying to be a mom that could still show up at the field trips and, at practices and on the weekends. I was just trying to be present. So I would get up every morning around 4 or 5. I'm a natural early bird, and I would work. My kids would get up, get their stuff done, get them off to school, work until they got off of school. My kids really didn't even recognize that I was working.
Right.
And then as soon as they went to bed, jumped back in it, worked till midnight, got up the next morning and did it again. And fast forward 15 years later, we had an entire team doing what I once did. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That person that you're talking about really did provide you with a gift, for lack of a better word. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm just going to cheap off of it.
Yeah.
And because of that moment when you reflected back after he said, hey, you can do this on your own. And then you kind of went through that moment after the rush of that compliment and all that. And you're, like you said, you woke up that Friday and it's like, wait, there's no automatic deposit coming in anymore.
Yeah.
But then you reflected back and said, okay, I got to make this happen. Wait a minute, I just did this.
Yeah.
Let's just do it again. And 6 months later, you said you went from 0 to 6 figures?
Yeah. And, it was ignorance. I had no idea that was different than the norm. I had no idea what
it is different
it's supposed to look like, right? Yeah. Yeah. I had no idea. So.
Well, just so you know, there's 585 people on. This is the fastest that we've hit that number. So, there's a lot to talk about here. And I have I grew a business over 30 years. So I can attest, by the way, you see we're in the Mangum City Library. They sponsor us here because of I told you a little bit about the Regeneration School Project. Take a moment to shout out to them. But the director's wife brought me a little brought the show a little Christmas tree, and I think that's a cute little thing there. I thought I'd point that out while I shouted out the library here, give them their shout out. But I mean, from experience, what you experienced. I mean, okay, there's a couple of different things going on here. So you didn't know what you didn't know, so you did what you did. You had experience a little bit in doing this marketing from a company who this chiropractor never did marketing before. So they said, go be a marketer, and you did your Google stuff. Back in the day, there wasn't as much as available as there is today. But obviously, you've got a personality and an awareness and a DNA within you that is different, because you don't go from 0 to 6 figures in a few months. Yeah. So how did that? I mean, was it just literally falling into this local friend that and you said the key word. You were doing some networking, and that's where that first opportunity opened up, right? So what is the juice that you point to being able to kind of move into a little bit of an accelerated space there, typically years instead of months?
Yeah. And I had no idea. I think the secret to it is, and I'm back at square one. I'm creating a business from scratch all over again. It's connection. Honestly, it is 100% connecting, truly connecting with others, being authentic, being vulnerable, being genuine. And for God's sakes, never be the smartest person in the room. If you're the smartest person in the room, find a new room. 100%. Everyone around me knew better than I did. And I trusted them and I leaned on them. And people will help. There's always people that are looking to just give you a little nugget. You don't need a whole plan. You don't need all the answers. Sometimes you need encouragement. Sometimes you need someone to say, hey, you might want to, kind of look in this direction. Sometimes you need an introduction.
And I think the biggest thing you said in that, well, everything you said was obviously perfect. I mean, is important. But the first thing you said, when you said be authentic, because none of that other stuff's going to happen unless you are, right? I mean, people know that. They pick that up. Yeah. And you being authentic obviously kind of opened the doors to be able to have those things start to begin, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yes.
So God, usually we're talking for a lot longer than this before we get into questions, but there's just so many of them. Do you mind answering some questions early on?
Absolutely. Sure. Let's do it.
Okay, great. Joey here. Joey DeVilla. What's the first step in uncovering hidden business assumptions? This is a big one. I like this question.
Yeah.
So do the other 600 people that are on.
Awesome. No,
go, girl.
So many times we are told, you have to do this, 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 and this for your business to succeed. And I think inherently, I'm a mom first. I've been a mom since I was 18 years old, right? It's just so woven in me, right? So a lot of my analogies kind of go back to parenthood and being a mom. But so many things that people tell you have to do in business, inherently, a business is like your child. You birthed it, right? You've grown it since day one. You know that something doesn't feel right for your business, but you're being told in order for this to be successful, you have to do these things. I think the first step is really and truly questioning that, right? Now, some things you do probably.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Sorry. Really and truly questioning that.
Yeah.
Meaning the information that people are telling you.
Yes.
I didn't. Okay. I want to make sure I connected on that because this is a big deal right now. Everybody listen. Go ahead. Say that again.
So people are going to tell you that you have to have certain things within business. Some of them are common sense. You probably need a website. You need a business card. You need a professional whatever, right? Those make sense. But then there's other people, especially with the introduction of AI, right? You need to use this product and you need to have these type of avatars. And you have to do all of these little things that if you spend your time doing them, they're not going to move the needle forward. They're just a box that you can check. So I always tell people, what are the things that you believe that you have to do? And what are the things that you've been told you have to do? And then question those, right? Do I have to have a website? Well, if you sell a product online, more than likely. So that's a truth, right? I have to have a team of people to help support me. Okay, is that true? People think that having a team is a marker of success. I'm going to tell you, as someone who just came from having a team, that adds a whole nother dimension to business ownership that not everyone might be ready for. So if you are being told you have to have a team, Is that true for you? Right? So really and truly question some of those things that you're hearing. Everybody, all of these gurus, all of these consultants telling you, right? It's really easy to have a team when you have a $5 million business. It's not easy to have a team when you have a $50,000 business, right? So just question
Yeah,
yourself.
and sorry, I can attest to that too, because as I look back, like I said, this I what my business, I started this a year and a half ish ago, and I was winding down the business prior to that, and I did it for a different reason, for myself, just for my own joy, not necessarily for chasing the dollar anymore, but it brought me the reason I say that is it brought me back to the point where I had people around me telling me, I need more salespeople, I need more this, you need to have that because the coverages and this and that. And and I this is gonna sound egotistical, but it's authentic. I'm the best salesperson. I mean, the reason my business was successful, a little bit of marketing. Yeah, I love doing that stuff. That's what brought me to doing this. But the sales side of it, the sales side, that being authentic, and that being able to tell a story that somebody else connects with, and that product now needs to be in their possession or service, whatever that is. Well, my unhappiness with the business model began when I started listening to these other factory things, and I felt I needed to have this bigger thing and this better thing and this, like producer Barbie told me, my ego was being fed by others that had nothing to do with the business,
Yep.
but felt that they knew better, and that became the less side of good in what I was doing. So I go ahead with what you're saying. I just wanted to add in there because, man, I feel you. That when you say you need to have a team. Well, my first thing was like, I don't like people. I like people, but I don't like people.
Yep.
I don't like people all over in my Kool-Aid, right? Um, that's a producer Barbie cup. But go on with your saying. Do you need people? Well, do you need them or do you not? So answer those questions. Those are the things you're talking about now that I rudely interrupted. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right there. I think, again, inherently what your business needs. There are blind spots, right? And there are things that, like I said, you do need to look at some truths. Do I actually need this? Do I need that? However, if you know inherently something is not right for your business, don't do it, or modify it in a way that feels authentic to you. Right?
I love that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you on that same note. I'm going to try and jump around here a little bit. I try. There's so many questions so early on here, so I may be off camera more than I would normally like to be, just because I'm egotistical and I like to see my face and my voice. No, but to the
You
but
got
the I got one, guys. Hey, it worked. So David here, how do we know if a reoccurring problem is actually a blind spot? To me, I don't know if, I mean, nothing, David, great question. But to me, if it's a reoccurring problem, uh, how can you define that as a blind spot? Where's the crossover? Where's the bridge? Because to me, a blind spot is, I never even knew anything happened. But he's talking about a reoccurring problem. Is there a connection here I'm missing, or can you fill something in for us here?
No, I think absolutely a reoccurring problem is a blind spot. You see the problem
Because okay,
yeah, there's an element, there's something that you're not seeing. So if there's a
in
problem
the problem.
in the problem, yes, right? Because you're trying a solution and it doesn't work, so the problem comes back. Okay, then you try another solution and the problem comes back. There's something that is missing that is preventing you from finding what the solution is. And that is probably one of the best ways to understand and to identify that there is a blind spot, right? So, and this isn't your question, and I'm just going to kind of follow up with the natural question that I hear so many times after I get this type of question, which is, okay, I know there's a blind spot. Now what? Right? Um, because if you don't see it and you can't identify it and you've been trying to fix this problem, how, kind of now what? That's where your community comes in. Having a community of people who are other business owners. And I'm going to say this, and it may be controversial, and I don't mean it bad, but a lot of people have their community, they consider friends, family, neighbors, other people who are not in the business circuit with you, right? Those are not always the best people to help you identify a blind spot. You need people who are in the arena with you, fighting the same fight, trying to figure it out. And a lot of times, a blind spot is invisible to you, but visible to everybody else. And it kind of plays into that vulnerability, right? Go to someone whom is maybe 2 or 3 steps ahead of you in business and say, hey, I've got this problem that's reoccurring. I've tried 10 different solutions. None of them are working. I feel like there's something I'm not seeing. Can you, if I give you the scenario, can you see something that maybe I'm not seeing, right? But absolutely, if you've got a recurring problem, 99% of the time, it's a blind spot. I don't know if I lost you there, but everything went kind of.
Oh my gosh. You know what? In the opening thing, I said, we'll get better at this. We'll get, more aesthetically pleasing. I'll not make so many mistakes. Well, for the last 30 seconds, I had made a perfect reintroduction into your comment and was sitting here talking to you. And then I didn't realize you couldn't hear me until you said, I think I lost him there.
Nope.
So I'll start over.
Okay.
And I have no idea what I was starting over with, but I like what you were talking there, and during what you were talking about, you were talking about maybe going to like a mentor, maybe not somebody right around your family that isn't in in this level in this area of conversation may not be the best
Right.
person to chat to, but maybe somebody who's a couple of. And by the way, I was in the green room, so I could hear you, like I was telling you instructions before. The mentor, to have that time when you can say, okay, this blind spot, and I appreciate you clarifying that for me, because I did not catch that in his question. That was an awesome answer, which is what I was telling you, and just only apparently the bugs in this room heard. The fact of having a type of a mentor, somebody that you can go to at maybe not every day, but go to at certain points and say, I'm not seeing this. What am I missing? They're a couple steps ahead of you. And to be able to, again, back to authenticity, because nobody's going to want to be that for you unless you're for real.
Yeah.
And so to have those relationships. But what I was saying when I was talking and didn't realize you weren't on, I said, I skipped about 10 questions here because I'm trying to stay within the discussion that's happening at the moment. Because there's a lot about burnout here, and there's a lot about other subjects as well. And obviously there's a lot of business. Usually I've been doing this show for, like I said, for a long time, and a bunch of shows. So after a while, you start to recognize some of the names that are regulars. I'm not recognizing anybody's name here. So we're drawing a different crowd here, which is kind of cool. But back to my point, like I said, I ramble a little bit. Back to my point, going back to Joey, this is a different question Joey asked earlier. What's the 5 steps of uncovering hidden business assumptions? Now, I like I said, there's not a lot of blind spot stuff here, so I'm not going to just throw things at you just because. But there's a lot of other questions that are happening here. We've already done that one, so yeah. What do you? not to try and pull away from it, but just to stay alongside of it, what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Could you help Joey out here, would you?
The first step to uncovering hidden business assumptions, that was our first question, right?
That was that Joey's first question was this one. What was the first step to uncover? Oh, he asked the same. Okay, I read that one wrong. So you tricked me, Joey. Damn it. Okay, maybe I'm not a really good host here. Okay, so he asked the same question twice. Okay, never mind. Let me come back. I missed that totally. Sorry about that. How can entrepreneurs stay aligned when everything feels chaotic?
Wow.
Like there's a whole bunch of these, and so I had to jump into something because
please feel free to. You can, whatever question you want to ask me, I'm an open book. How entrepreneurs can stay aligned when everything feels chaotic. Total honesty, I don't know if there's a perfect answer to this one because I will have figured it out. And then some other part of my life will get noisy and I'll get pulled into that. And then I've got to recenter myself, right? I think with alignment comes strategy. If you know where you're going and why you're going there, it quiets the noise, right? Who do you serve? Why are you serving them? How do you want to serve them? If you have your answer to those three things, everything else is a litmus test against it, right? This person wants your help and it's something that you don't typically do. Okay, well, unfortunately, that has to be a no right now. And I think in business ownership, there's a lot of feeling like we have to do everything, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we don't really. I'll use myself as an example. I promise you, I am the queen of girl math. Drives my husband crazy. If I have enough stars in my Starbucks app to get a free coffee, I'm like, look, I got a free coffee. And he's like, no, you spent $100 in the last 2 weeks. That cup of coffee wasn't free, right? So I am not the person that should be doing my books. I'm just not, right? Everything is, and it felt very chaotic when I was trying to do that. When it felt very chaotic when I was doing things that aren't in my area of brilliance. Because what someone else can do in 5 minutes when they're working in their area of brilliance would take me 3 or 4 hours. And it was not done to that same level. So a lot of times looking at what is causing the chaos, is there ways to systematize things that make things feel less chaotic and less noisy? That's always a good indication. I think sometimes as business owners, when things feel chaotic, at least for me, I'll only speak for myself, it makes me want to stop. It makes me want to pull back and then not do anything because it's all too loud. And that's always a good indication that something isn't aligned, right? So that's when you sit down and you list out those things. What is the noisiest things in my world? Do I have to pay attention to those noisy things, right? Now, if those
what does that look like? What is chaos? And well, I know what chaos and noise and all that looks like, but in how you're describing what you're describing now. So when somebody starts to feel, what is it that they're feeling that should be that gut instinct, right? What is it that they should, what are some of the examples that you've experienced that are descriptions of that chaos or that noise? What does that look like for the people in the audience?
Yeah. For me personally, when I feel chaos,
for you,
I find myself scrolling on my phone. I find myself looking at, new Post-it notes. I have 10 million Post-it notes. I really don't need another pack, right? But I find myself doing anything other than sitting in front of my computer and moving forward. Because
okay, that makes sense.
I don't know what the next right step is. Because it's all coming out.
There we go.
Right?
Yes.
To me, that's what it is.
So okay, now you're bringing up past memories. I get what you're saying now, because I think we've all been there. It's like, I don't know what to, let me look at a TikTok for a minute. I just can't deal with this for that's what you're talking.
Yeah.
That makes a hell of a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I think if we can learn to identify, okay, wait, why am I scrolling all day? Okay, now I need to go do honestly, for me, it's still really hard. I don't want to do what I know I'm supposed to be doing. Why? And have an honest conversation with myself. I don't want to because I have 10 things sitting in my inbox that I don't know what to do with. Okay, that's fair. Why don't I know what to do with it? I always try and go 3 or 4 layers deep, right? Because you give yourself, I lie to myself better than anyone else. I know what to say to myself to make myself feel better, to justify why, why I'm doing something. Okay, that feels hard. Why does it feel hard? Because I don't know the answer. Okay, who knows the answer? Okay, well, this person and that. And it gives you kind of a roadmap. And now, typically, the chaos is just, when you look back at it, it was a small road bump. It feels like a mountain in the moment, but when you're looking back and you're on the other side of it, it was just a road bump.
So you just opened up a whole new thing for me as far as the word authentic. So I always think about being authentic, being you to people, being authentic, so people trust you. So, you are who you are, and this is who I am. And it's a good thing. And, authenticity is good. But you also have to be authentic to yourself. What you just said there, I know you got to be honest with yourself. Why am I wanting to watch TikTok or whatever? I don't know. Why am I wanting to get away from this?
Yep.
You have to be authentic with yourself too.
And that's the hardest thing. To me, that's the hardest thing, because I can't get away from myself. I can, when I'm scrolling and I'm looking at TikTok, it's easy for an hour to go by. And now that hour went by, now I have to be at this meeting, or I have to talk to this person. And I just delayed what it is I really needed to do. So when there is chaos, when it feels misaligned, that's an indication for you to have a conversation with yourself.
Yeah. So it all goes back to being you, to trusting you, that gut feeling. Now, I would say we have 3 brains, right? We have the brain of the head, we have the brain of the heart, we have the brain of the gut feeling. And those things are things that aren't listened to enough, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you're an executive in a company, or you're building a household, or you're doing all the things that you're doing certain things, whatever those are, that are not easy for the human consumption. All right. It takes effort. It takes more. When you're at that point, that's when you really have to start using those 3 brains, right? Because your heart and your gut, all they do is they send signals to the brain, which sends out the chemicals for you to react, right? To however that is. And what you just said there, when you get to a point, you're going to have more decisions, more pressures, more this, more that, whatever it is of those examples I just gave. But at that point, that's when you really have to, you're there because you're you, whatever that there is. You're there because you're you. And at some point, actually a lot of points, people don't listen to their gut. They don't listen to themselves. They don't listen to them. They don't listen to the authenticity. They lie to themselves. And that's where it's most important when you get there. And that's probably at the point where you have the least time. So it's the hardest to do, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Man. So let's go on to Nick here.
Yeah.
What's the biggest success blocker you've seen in fast growing companies? Because that's hard, right? If it's growing fast, sometimes growth is harder to manage than startup. Well, maybe not, but it's tough, right? If you got a fast growing company, right?
Yeah.
Answer this question here. What's the hardest blocker?
It's a great one. I would love to know. It really kind of depends on the industry, but in general,
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
yeah. So if he's still on and he wants to kind of share what industry,
Yeah, Nick, if you're still on, and let's see, let me see if I've got another Nick down here. I don't. Yeah, Nick, if you could, yeah, please build off of that. But go ahead, please, Leanna.
I would say in general, it is when you grow quickly, it's very hard to keep all of the components going at the same pace and keeping up with the changes that come in that growth, right? If you have a huge growth in sales, a lot of times you're not looking forward to think about, okay, do I need staff to handle this, right? And so, or if you've grown, some companies grow their staff first in order to accommodate that growth, right? That they know is coming. But how solid is your foundation? A lot of times the success blocker is not looking at all areas of your business and just focusing on one. A lot of times if it's, again, they're all focused on sales and they're totally ignoring the fact that, you know, they've got foundational issues with their website that can't handle all the drive of sales, right? So you have to really look at the major components of your business and make sure that you're examining them all often. Again, it's really hard to ignore the ones that are hard, and it's really easy to pay attention to the one that might be growing fastest. But if you don't keep your eye on everything kind of equally, you're not going to notice when there's a potential fracture that turns into a complete break.
I love, you know what? I just love the way you speak. First of all, it just you could tell you're a speaker. You have great inflection at the right moments. The reason I say that, you're very welcome. The reason I say that is because I want to get into a little bit of off these subjects for the questions for a second. Just set them aside. You said you don't. I'm not even a third of the way through the questions yet, but I want to ask you something. So. You know, in looking at, and you could tell in the monologue, you know, these things you've done and accomplished, these awards and the businesses, but you're a coach. Am I correct about that?
I'm a consultant, yeah, at this point. Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me about that? Because I think I can see where success would come with you because you're speaking truth in an authentic way and also in a way that makes your mind work, meaning I'm listening to you and my mind is working. Tell me about what you do as a coach. What is your business model now? Let's talk about you for a minute, not too long, just for a minute. Give you a little plug here and all that good stuff. But tell me about what you're doing, and then we'll go back to some of these questions because I want to be able to make sure I'm not missing anything. I just love the way your presentation goes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. No, and you said something that really resonated with me was that, you know, you started your business, you had your other business that was for ego, and this business is out of love and out of a passion.
Yeah.
That resonated with me because I think that's 100% where I am. I just literally, I walked away from a business. People are like, what is wrong with you? Why in the world, when you're having the best year, would you walk away?
Right.
Because I want to give back in a way that I can't when I have a team of people reporting to me. I have clients that I'm dealing with. I have, you know, a ton of different things. So now I am a consultant for small to medium-sized business owners who don't have that circle. They don't have that trusted person that they can be vulnerable with and say, look, I'm really struggling here and I don't know why. Or I am experiencing burnout and I don't understand why. Or, you know, am I ever going to get to see my, you know, my family and my kids? I spend 24 hours a day working in this business. And so I help people.
Does it matter the business? Does it matter the industry?
Nope.
For you.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Because the business owner, it's a product.
Yeah.
The product may or may not matter, whatever.
Yeah.
Put it aside. When you work with people, obviously you're working for the business efforts,
right?
But you're working with whoever it is, the owner or the manager, wherever that is that's falling into place. you're working on the person, correct?
Yes, 100%.
So how does that work? What does that look like?
Um,
I might be interested. I want this thing to grow.
yeah, the number one thing, honestly, is accountability. As the business owner,
Meaning?
you tell yourself you're going to get something done. You need to have a show the notes for next week, right? And then something on TV. There's a game you want to catch. So you know what? You go, I'm going to do that later. Well, now it's 2 days later and you haven't done it, right? Whatever it is to move the business forward, a lot of times we don't have to answer to anyone, right? I had a team of people under me. If I tell you I'm going to get you something and I don't, and if they say, hey, did you get me that report? And I go, you know what? I didn't have time. It's been a crazy week. Sorry, I'll get it to you next week. What are they going to say to me? They're going to say, okay, no problem. Knowing that that's probably really important to them. And so there's really not a lot of accountability at the owner level, right? If I tell a client I'm going to get something done, I'm going to get it done. I found that not having accountability as the owner can be, and actually this might tie back to part of Nick's question, the biggest success blocker is not having accountability, right? Not having someone to hold me. You said you were going to get this done by Friday. It's now Friday. Why wasn't it done? I am competitive by nature. So if I tell you I'm going to do something, I might be doing it the last second, but I'm going to get it done. If I tell you I'm going to get it to you by 5 o'clock, it might be 4:58, but I'm going to get it to you. So having accountability, we help people with accountability. The second thing is that we have honest conversations. So many times as business owners, we are not in a position where we feel we can be honest with people, right? We have those that are closest to us want to keep us safe. That's why I said that maybe going to your family is not keeping you safe. If I went to my family, they would have told me, you need to get a job. You've got 2 kids. What are you thinking? Right? I went to other business owners. Well, I'm also learning that a lot of business owners don't have that. They don't have a circle that they can lean on. They're the person that everyone leans on, right? So they're the support for everybody else. Where do they go for support? So I saw that that was a huge, huge thing that was missing within the community. And now I want to give back. I want to help people that are 2 steps behind me. Look, I'm going to tell you straight up, I have made every business error known to man. If there's a wrong way, I guarantee at some point I went down it. I know all the potholes. I would love to say that I've had this perfect business and everything went well. No, I've almost lost my business a time or 2, right? I know what it's like to get to the height and then drop back down and then have to climb back up. I've been through having employees that aren't great employees. I've been through, you name it, I've done it. And so now I just want to help people avoid those, or if they're in them, how do you navigate getting out? So that's what I do for people.
That is awesome. And is that, I mean, and maybe it varies. I don't know. When you're working with somebody, I'm sure you work with a few different people at a time, whatever your business model, whatever that is. So when you work with somebody, are you working with them on a daily, a weekly, a monthly basis? Or is it, hey, what about these things? And then send back to me and then I'll go over it and then we'll go over. I mean, how does that kind of, I'm sure it's different. Well, maybe it's not so different for everybody, but maybe it is. How often? What does that look like?
I do try and tailor it to people.
Hey guys out there in the audience, I'm sorry, I'm being cheap here. I'm being selfish. I'm trying to figure out for my own personal thing here. I want you guys to see more of me forever. So go ahead, Leanna, please.
No, honestly,
I'm cheating here.
You're good. I don't like putting everybody into a box. So we talk one-on-one. What kind of accountability, what kind of systems, what kind of strategy, what do you need? Some people genuinely just need someone to hold up a mirror and say, okay, this is what I'm hearing you say. Is this correct? Okay, if this is correct, here's a strategy or here's a way. Other people like that hand holding. Most of our clients, we meet Mondays and Fridays. What are you doing this week? What did you do this week?
Okay, that makes sense.
But really and truly, what do you need? I don't believe that, there's so many programs out there. Honestly, I'm not trying to work with thousands of people, hundreds of people. I'm very selective. You have to be ready to want to work. I'm not one of those people that you're going to pay and then not do it and say, oh, you know what? Another thing that didn't work. I'm going to kind of call you out on things. Hey, you said you were going to do it. You said you wanted to grow. You're not doing it. So what's misaligned? I'm going to help you kind of uncover it, but I'm also not going to just be one of those people that, takes your money and then if you don't do it, you don't do it.
All right, we're going to chat more later in the green room. Maybe we'll share some peanuts in the green room.
The elusive peanuts that I'm not allowed to touch. Got it.
Well, I'll talk to Barbie and see if we could work something out here.
Okay.
So this person I do recognize, Allie Moore. She kind of comes on pretty regularly, especially when we talk about business stuff. I don't know what she does, obviously, but I like this question she's got here, and so I wanted to kind of get some background from you on a couple of other things, which we just did. But I do love what she's saying here. How do leaders build clarity when a team's already overwhelmed? So now you're in the battle, right? Yep. You're in the heat of things. Maybe your team could have been better. You could have better prepared the team or whatever. But there's a point where you're getting overwhelmed for multiple different reasons. Usually it's good reasons, right? Because you're success and you're growing and they're overwhelmed and you don't have enough and all of that. So how do you create clarity in those moments of fog and being overwhelmed for a team that's depending on you? You said it earlier. Yeah. That team member asked you something. You could just blow it off, but it was obviously important to them. They have jobs to do. They have things they need now. You as a leader, how do you do that? What does that look like?
Yeah, this happened to me last year. Our team in the digital agency world, we were almost always dead.
In the what agency world? The what?
Marketing, in the digital marketing space.
Gotcha. Okay.
November, December, quiet. Everyone wants to start Q1, January 1, hit the ground running. Most people are gone November, December. Half of our team, I had promised them the year before that we were taking 2 weeks off between Christmas and New Year's. We weren't working. They were getting paid. Go spend time with your family. Totally fair, right? It's, again, 15 years of doing this. I know our cycles, right? November 1st, we had so many new clients. They were coming at left and right. We had no idea where they were coming from. Everyone wanted to get started immediately. I have half my staff that's already on vacation. I'm shutting the entire company down for 2 weeks. And I have I can't, it's irresponsible to turn away tens of thousands of dollars, right? That can help us grow.
Yeah.
I was so overwhelmed. The team was overwhelmed because I said, guys, can we push this out? Can we, I'm going to approve overtime. I'm going to approve whatever we need to do to get this done. Can we get it done? I already knew that they were maxed out. I had a plan in those 2 weeks of being closed to hire 2 more people. So I knew that the team had already been running thin for a couple months, but I also knew I was going to take this time and be slow with hiring the right person, right? It was so difficult because I already knew where they were. I knew where I was. We had more people coming in. So the team was already overwhelmed. This sounds so trivial, but here's what I did. I told the team, I see you. I know you're overwhelmed. It's my job to figure this out. I need you to get us through the next few weeks. If you can keep pushing the next few weeks, in that time, I'm committed to making sure that we now have policies, procedures, whatever it is in place to where this doesn't happen to us again, right? I took accountability. I told them I saw them in it. I sent out more $5 Starbucks cards, $10 Hobby Lobby card, whatever it was, just little tokens of I see you, I appreciate you, please push with me. And in that push, know that I recognize that I, as the leader, need to find a solution. And as hard and as counterintuitive as this is the time as a leader, you probably need to step back and figure out what you need to do to get that clarity. right? You have to have somebody that you can trust, even if it's just for a few days. I need a day. I need a half a day. I need 4 hours of uninterrupted time so I can get clarity. But you have to tell people that you know what's happening. I think if you have a team and you don't acknowledge that they are overwhelmed, they feel devalued. The second you take ownership, I know I'm asking you to do something that's uncomfortable. I know that you're tired. They feel seen. My team carried me through. They pushed through and they were excited. I also asked them, I'm going to come up with some solutions, but is there anything that you see that you think can make a difference to prevent this from happening again? Is there anything that for your particular job you want to see done differently? Right? And I took that feedback. So they felt part of the process and they felt like I was taking responsibility for the hard moment that we were all in. Right? And that was a game changer for us.
Yeah, and it's funny what you just described just now. You started off with, "I see you," saying the words, "I see what you're going through. I see what's happening here. I see being overwhelmed," and man, light bulbs go off. But then the rest of what you were talking about was a diatribe, if that's a proper word, a description of seeing them. Your actions then reinforced. So that moment when you had clarity and, hey folks, I need a couple minutes, give me some clarity, I need to figure this out, what's going on, and then you come out to the team and you're one-on-one or however that works and say, I see what's going on here. We're about ready to go into this promised vacation, and hey, no way this is happening, and we're beyond the opposite. We're just blowing up right now.
Yeah.
But then you spent the next 2, 3, 4 minutes of that part of the conversation, and we're showing how you showed, and you didn't, it wasn't like you were laying it out. You were just saying, and then we did this, the little, I know she went back to Starbucks. You got a little bit more of a Starbucks thing going there.
I know. I should shop local. I know. But
you know, is Starbucks a sponsor for you? They should be. You're obviously
you should, right? Let me send him this. We'll see what I can do.
You should. You clip out some of it and do, the couple of different Starbucks things. The one with your husband and well, maybe not that one, but it's really. So we talk a lot about leadership and business, and we have 4 lanes on this show that go into different subjects that focus on certain subjects. And so I talked to a lot of business leaders, and actually this show came out of what was called Insights, which was the funnest part of my business back in the day, is I used to interview, discuss with, or really that was interviewing industry leaders in my industry. It was for marketing. Right? We just posted and we'd use that for marketing to grow the business. But what you're talking about now is such a support of the way you think. So sometimes people say things and that's the right thing to say and to do, but then when you're talking to leaders like you, I've talked to so many of them. The way you just put that is so important to the people that you're leading. And you don't see a lot of that, do you? Not because people are bad or because this or that or this or that, but I think you said it early on. So I have a business. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm pretty good at this. I'm good at this thing. And it hit home because I'm not good with my books either. And when you said that, so there's things that really, even people who are really good, who are really confident, who are very competent, expertise in what they do, they need that mentor that you've referred to a couple of times at moments, because, can we really be excellent at everything? or does that kind of dilute it sometimes? I mean, sometimes you don't want to necessarily be an expert at your books.
Yeah.
I never would want to do that because it's boring as hell.
Yes.
I mean, I respect the hell out of people that do that, but it's like data entry to me. After about 5 minutes, I'm like, I can't do that stuff. So anyway, you can't be an expert. Well, you shouldn't be an expert at everything, because if you're being an expert also at that, you're taking away, like I think you said, took 3 days instead of 3 hours, and it wasn't as good of a product. Whatever it was you said,
Yeah.
I related to that.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about is, sorry, I'm being a little bit of a commercial here for you. I don't mean to be, but the way you laid that out is so not common in the world that you live in.
Yeah, and I think
and I'm
that's why I
impressed
fight.
by that. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think that's why I fight to have that, is because I work in a space that is digital, that's very impersonal, that is very data driven. And I think in our culture, we can very easily lose sight of the fact that we're all people, right? We all want the same things. Yeah. And because I work in such a space that is so cold and is so numbers driven, I think that forces me to maybe overcompensate somewhat on the personal level. And the second I started doing that, everything else handles itself, right?
See, I told you, you're an awesome speaker. Just the way you left that dangling there.
Thank you.
I bet you get across to the what you do. You're basically talking to leaders all the time, right? In your coaching, you're talking to people who aren't shy necessarily about their ego. I mean, you have to have. It's like if you're a pro athlete, you got to have an ego. Otherwise, you wouldn't drive yourself. If you're in government, you got to have an ego. Otherwise, you wouldn't be driving yourself. If you're an owner of a company, you've got to have an ego. I mean, you don't got to, but you do have an ego. Otherwise, you wouldn't be where you are. So you're talking to those folks all the time. You're not just talking to somebody who's like, yeah, I'll do whatever you say. You're talking to that people who's like, hey, look, I've done this. So I bet you're very effective with those people as well.
Yeah. I think my resume follows me. I don't like the things that I've accomplished. I think have all been amazing opportunities that were so much more than me, right? And I don't like to highlight that very.
Ooh, I like that.
But a lot of times people need to see my resume before they'll even listen or assume that I have anything of value to say. So I use it when I need to. But yeah,
that makes sense. I mean, that makes sense. Let's look what Chris Hanna has to say here. How can somebody and you were talking about your systems. You're living in a digital world, really, and in your system. So I thought this was really well timed. Chris Hanna here. How can somebody identify outdated systems? Now, I know here probably talking about systems of operating systems, OPS, in an organization, but before they cause damage, how can you identify outdated systems? Some of these things on the surface sound so easy. Like the question, how would you identify something that's outdated? Well, it's outdated. You identified it. But it's not that simple, because there's chaos. There's the world. There's life. There's the family. There's the business. There's the employees. There's, I've been up since 6 trying to figure this out because I got to be at a meeting, at 10 and whatever. There's things happening. Yeah. So for Chris's answer here, how do you identify? How can somebody identify an outdated system? I mean, is it just simply by paying more attention, or is there something I'm missing here, or is this question off?
No, I think, as easy as it sounds to say, pay attention. That said, one of the indicators that something might be outdated or starting to become obsolete is when it takes more time to perform the same function than it used to. I typically look for 5 to 10% variance, right?
Wait. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I was going to explain. Yep. So if I have a system And the system from start to finish, whatever it was, took me 10 minutes. And now it takes me 15 minutes because the system is running a little slower or no longer integrates with another part of our system, right? The minute that things start to take longer to do what it used to do in the past, there's an indication that something is potentially outdated. Now, when you're looking at systems, even some of your most simplest systems, like take your CRM, right? Okay, well, it's outdated. The problem with that is that it takes so long to move to a new system, and you have to make sure that
Yes.
that new system is not the latest and greatest, because a lot of times those have more problems because they kind of haven't had the kinks worked out of them yet. But your systems, if it's taking longer than it did in the beginning, if anything, your system should be becoming more and more refined, and the time to do a task should actually be reduced. The second it starts increasing, key indication that your system is becoming outdated. And I don't know if I'm in the green room again.
No, you're not in the green room. I'm in the green room, and I keep hitting the wrong buttons when I'm trying to talk. I don't know what it is today. I'm a little off. Maybe it's the snow, or maybe I'm just trying to keep up with you here.
You're good.
So, how does I like this because I think this is a problem with a lot of people. Ariel here. I think this is a common thing when people think effort and progress is the same thing. And so and I think obviously the better business owner you are, the more successful business you have, there's a separation there. You're not just doing effort. You know, you're creating progress. But I think a lot of people, especially people who are kind of stuck, it's harder for some people to identify progress away from effort.
Yeah.
How do you talk to somebody about that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I do
Yes.
handle this question quite a bit. I struggle with it myself even now. I think that's the one thing I want people to know is just because I know, certain things, or I've been down certain roads doesn't mean I don't still struggle with it now. Being a startup again after 15 years, the landscape has changed immensely, right? And just because I did it once doesn't guarantee that I can do it again. I had pretty good confidence in the last 3 months. I started this 3 months ago, right? But with that effort, can you identify what the effort will produce, right? I'm going to spend 2 hours looking at prospects on LinkedIn, and I'm going to send them this message for this reason, right? You now know what your effort should produce, right? A lot of times people spend a lot of their effort in the research phase. If you're researching something, more than likely it is not going to move your needle forward if you're doing it for an extended period of time. I think a lot of times when people don't know what to do, they put in more effort, and that leads to burnout because they don't know what's going to move the needle forward. They're missing that progress piece. So they just figure, okay, well, if I sit here for 8 hours, something's going to happen. No, you just sat here for 8 hours, right? And you're just as frustrated, and you've lost a day, right? So if you have to be able to articulate what that effort is, how long it's going to take, and what you expect to get out of it, right?
Okay, so you got to literally be honest with yourself about what your expectations are for a certain whatever. In this case, we're talking about effort. So whatever effort you're going to perform, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be intelligent enough with yourself to be able to say, I'm expecting this out of that. That's the difference between progress and effort, right?
Yeah, and it's intentional, right? Just sitting down with, I'm going to try and figure this out. What? Right? Like, what does that even mean? Right? It's okay. I know I need to accomplish this. I'm going to do this and this and see what the reaction is. Does that get me one step closer, right? And checking in, because sometimes, progress does happen when you do put effort in, and it's kind of a found, right? You think you're doing one thing and you actually get
Sure.
a result, and that's fantastic. But you have to check in with yourself. Okay, I've been plugging away at this for 2 hours and nothing's happened. Is it because I'm looking in the wrong direction? Is it because, I just haven't gotten there yet? Maybe it takes 3 hours, whatever that is, right? But you've got to check in with yourself.
Yeah, the key word out of that is it's got to be on purpose. You got to do things on purpose instead of just kind of floating through it. Or worse yet. And I've connected with a number of different things, unfortunately. But worse yet, I'm doing research on it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, you're doing some busy time. Is that really? So you got to check in with yourself. Yeah, sometimes you got to find some things out, but it's really about the doing and being honest in what you're trying to accomplish, what it is that you're determined to accomplish by creating this effort. Because effort is time.
Yep.
Obviously, it's effort, but it's time, and time is always money, right? It's always every hour I spend now that's not building the business isn't building the business. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. It depends on what that is. If I'm hanging out with my kids, I'm not there to build the business, right? So that you have to be honest with yourself and you have to be that next level. You have to actually be involved in your own life.
Yeah.
I like to put that way, because I don't think enough people, whether you're building a business or not, you have to be involved in your own life. And so all of these things matter, right?
100%. You said it beautifully. Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm going on to Jason Tilley here. And this one's kind of interesting to me because this has probably got to be the hardest one to recognize because it's you. It's you. It's this stuff in here. And so how can entrepreneurs avoid emotional patterns turning into business problems? And I've got to think that more than one of us has been out there and you're an emotional, I call it the human experience, right? You're a human, we're a species. There's softness in us. It's not just about this or that, but you're built a way. You're built a certain way. And with that comes the emotional. You saw in the opening dialogue, I kind of shocked myself. I got a little emotional out of it. Something came out. So this is an interesting question that Jason, and it's interesting. It's a guy asking it too.
I love it.
Nothing against, right? Isn't that cool? How can entrepreneurs avoid emotional patterns? My mom was a very successful businesswoman, but she had emotional patterns as well. I have emotional patterns. I'm sure you have emotional patterns,
Yeah.
But not turning them into business problems. How does that connect for you? How do you deal with that for somebody?
Yeah, I do, all the time. I think as a business owner, we see our businesses as our baby. And if someone has anything negative to say, they're calling your baby ugly, right? And the second, now I'm going to fight. I've never fought before, but now we're going to fight, right? So
you got an ugly baby.
Yes, right? The second they say, I don't know if your product is what I need or whatever, it feels like a personal attack, right? Even if that's not the intention, that's the way it feels. And it can bring up a ton of emotions. And I think to ever, say that we should not be emotional, that doesn't make sense. That's not realistic, right? So I had some great advice first starting out that I have held on to, and I think it has saved me more often than not. I do not see my business as my baby. I see myself as an employee of the business, right? So I hold all of my emotional patterns.
Oh, good.
Would idea. I want my employee to respond in this way? Would I want my employee to act in this way, right? The second I become an employee, it does create a little bit of that emotional separation, right? If someone,
Love,
if someone called my baby ugly and my employee heard it, they're not going to lose their mind. They're going to be like, "Oh, that was kind of tough," right? Ugh. And they're going to act accordingly. So I think if you can give yourself a little bit of that separation and think about yourself as an employee of the business, is that emotional reaction going to be a positive move for your business? Absolutely, go forward. If it is going to cause a potential problem in your business, take a step back. I'm not a huge proponent of using AI in everything, but I'm going to tell you right now, sometimes business emails I get, I will say what I want to say. I will put it in chat and say, I need you to make this nicer. And then when it makes it nicer, I
I've done
say,
that.
I need you to make it nicer again. I typically go 2 or 3 levels deep because I'm just raw. I'm like, are you kidding me? Did you, per my last email type of response, right?
Yeah.
Then I send it to someone and I go, how does this sound? Right? This happens a lot of times with reviews. When I had the business, I would tell our clients, please do not respond to a review. Let us respond, right? Or put it in chat. This is what was said. Here are the facts. How do I create a response that is a professional response? I think anytime people always freak out when they get a 1-star review. You know what? It happens. We're human. The best thing a business can do is to respond. You know what? We're human. We did mess up. We put systems in place. We apologize. We're ensuring it never happens again. Whatever that something is, that whatever it is that would make you emotional, take a step back. Just give yourself a moment. Have someone else that you trust look at it, read it, respond, but shift your mindset just a little bit. Otherwise, people would come to us all the time when they were emotional. It did cause business problems, and now they want us to fix it. And it's just, it can be done, but it's a huge, steep uphill battle.
Yeah, it's a deeper hole, especially when you're talking about when it gets to a point of emotions, and now it's, emotions are critical. I mean, we wouldn't be us unless we didn't have them. But sometimes when they go to a point that you've lost something, then it becomes a bigger issue because now emotions are feelings and they're deeper. Like you said, if somebody said that your baby was ugly and it was your friend or your neighbor that heard it, or you're talking about the business being ugly and it's just an employee that's like, ooh, ouch, ow, but it's not devastating.
Yeah.
But when emotions get into that, it becomes a much deeper level. I love that. Just love that. Let's go to Cody here. This is interesting. This is an interesting one for me because it's like it's almost an automatic. You got a high achiever, maintaining momentum, but not burning out. So there's a couple different things there. One, if you're like here, I do this 6 days a week and all the other things that go with it. People always ask me, how do you stay motivated? Well, because the show's fun. I mean, it's like playing video games all day for me now. That's what I do for a living, basically. But this the library is shut down for 3-4 days because of the Thanksgiving holiday, right? So I couldn't do the show. I did other stuff, at my home office and all that. But you know what? I realized it's like I really needed that. I just because it's so emotional. I've done 2 and 3 shows in a day. But to answer Cody's question, how do you keep from burning out? Like, how do you maintain that continuing growth, but pace it in a way that you don't overstep your skis, go over your ski tips?
Yeah. I think burnout happens so often. And a lot of times, speaking from experience, I'm in the middle of feeling burnt out, but I've created something that is going so quickly. I don't have the luxury of saying I'm burnt out, right? so I've learned that what fills my cup, right? What fills my cup, honestly, hanging out with my husband. I watch horrible reality TV, 90 Day Fiance, you name it. If it's ratchet, I watch it. Fills my
Oh my God. Your
judgment.
producer, Barbie.
Oh, I'm just telling you right now. But most importantly, I have a grandbaby. We have 2 grandbabies.
No way.
Yes.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. She fills my cup. If I get either one of my if I can spend an hour of time with her, it fills my cup. I can put my head back down to the grindstone. I think burnout happens when you don't turn off from business even for a minute. I think we're all connected with our phones, with email. Our watches talk to us. We are expected to be on 24/7. We have very little grace for giving people time to respond. I get an email, and if I don't respond to the email, within 5 minutes, I've got a text message. Hey, I sent you an email, right? So if you figure out what fills your cup, you may not get a lot of time to do it, but when you're in those moments, be in those moments. Again, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes,
shut it off.
Shut it off. Turn it off, turn it down, fill yourself, go back to it. It's the only way that I have figured out how to prevent burnout and or get myself out of it when I'm in the middle of it.
You know, we've been going for over an hour and a half already.
Oh goodness.
And this is just kind. I mean, I'm not. I said that for a reason. I mean, I just looked up at the clock and I went, oh my God, an hour and 32 minutes, which is awesome. We still got 600 people here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. But it just goes to show that you've got a successful, well, you've already sold one successful business, written, a best-selling book internationally, speaker, all that. You've got a lot of things going on. I just found out you have 2 grandkids, grandbabies. So I know that feeling. And
it changes everything.
The cup.
It changes everything.
Oh my God. The only reason we have kids, I'm now figuring out, is so I can get grandkids.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, what a freaking, I raised 5 boys and that they're all having granddaughters. And which is, so I loved having the boys, but when you said she, I knew exactly what you, those little girls, my God, talk about.
Yep.
Owning. I mean, guys are awesome, but go ahead. So fill your cup. What were you going to say?
No, that was honestly all, but you have to turn it off. Completely. It's whether it's 5 minutes, you'd be surprised how much 5 minutes, half an hour, you have to give yourself grace. As business owners, we don't give ourselves grace. If we sent an email and someone responded to us that said, this is really important to me, give me an hour, I'll have a response, we wouldn't think twice. Okay, fine, great, thanks, right? You can set an autoresponder. This email is really important to me. As soon as I get back in the office at 4 o'clock, at 2 o'clock, at 1 o'clock tomorrow, next week, whatever that is, I'll make it a priority to respond. People are like, okay, they've got their answer. They know when to have, expect some type of return.
Exactly.
And you now have that freedom. But so many times we don't give ourselves grace. I'm here with you, but let me check my phone. Okay, I'm here with you, but let me do this. Oh, and I've got to send this. It's going to kill us. We're humans. We are not robots, right? Our business is important. Look, my business supported myself, my husband, my children. I've got my entire team plus their kids and their stuff. Like, it gets very overwhelming and you think, I can't stop. I can't stop for even a minute. But if you don't stop, life is going to put you in a circumstance where you can't do anything but stop. And I never wanted that to happen.
Yeah. No, that is a beautiful thing. And for all you folks out there, there's reasons you're here listening to this today. And like I said in the beginning, I want you guys to really pay attention to actual aspects of your life that can be tweaked or just adjusted or whatever. And this is probably one of the biggest ones, because I know we had 30 at our height, we had 30 employees, and plus, God, we had, we built equipment. So we'd have people come in. We had another dozen or several dozen outside vendors that would, do electrical stuff for us and all that. And you're right. There's a point in time where you've got all those families, and you're this and you're that, and they're relying on you. When you said that, it brought back a lot. And the thing is you have to, otherwise burnout does happen. You have to go see that grandbaby and talk to her for a little bit. Because at some point you do need to turn it all off, and you can't, like you said, the best thing one of the best things you just said there, have an autoresponder. Somebody sends you an email, hey, I'll get back to you in an hour. They've got their answer. I know how important that is, versus just not saying anything. Having that autoresponder gives you time to be able to just turn it off.
Yeah.
And completely. You can't half turn it off, but still play on that, that email that yeah, hi baby, yeah, that's not that, right? Turn it off, man. Just freaking turn it off, and then recharge, right?
And honestly, I'd love to say that it could be weeks or days, or it literally for me at some points was just 5 minutes. But I told myself it is 5 minutes. Like, make the most of that, and it was amazing how
100% all in, and that way you can be 100% all in back when you're redoing, taking care of those other families and your business and your baby or not baby or whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna get onto this next one here for two reasons. One, it's a great question, but probably more important than that is Rob Thomas is my favorite singer. I idolize Rob. Matchbox 20. I don't know if you know him, but Rob Thomas asked this question: how do leaders identify the hidden costs draining their business? In the opening, when I was kind of preparing it, I was talking about, businesses don't just explode. They don't just get destroyed and explode. They seep out. The success can kind of seep out from not recognizing or not paying attention to that. So how do you answer? I assume this is not the singer. How do you answer Rob Thomas's question here?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I looked to, like I said earlier, it's not my forte. We have a commercial banker who handled at our bank. And I asked her, there is a system that they use to rank, like when they're going to give businesses a loan. For your industry, you tell them your industry, and they'll tell you what each section of your business should be costing. So for, machinery, for manufacturing, okay, 8% of your budget should be marketing, 20% should be this, 15% should be labor, whatever that number is. They have some set metrics that I didn't even know existed. She just, again, I have an amazing banker. Shout out to Christy at First Western. She came to me and she was like, would you like to know, because I said, how do I know? I asked this exact question. How do I know? Especially when we were starting to think about selling, right? How do I know if this is balanced or not? She literally gave me the standard to which, and it's industry specific, so it's not super general. She gave me that list and those percentages. Then I went to our bookkeeper, because I don't do our books, and I said, hey, can you tell me where are our business percentages, right? There were two specific areas that we were significantly higher than industry average. The first one was payroll. And I know that my success was directly related to our staff. And I knew that I wanted to pay them in accordance with the value that they brought our business, not what industry average paid for their position. So I could justify, and I was okay, why this one percentage was higher. There was another percentage which was our, that went back to our CRM and some of the back end stuff, that I was like, wait, this is way off. It was about 8 to 10% off of what it should have been. And then that gave me an idea of what to start looking for, right? Okay, we're leaking money here or in this category. What are we spending money on that maybe we shouldn't be, or is something outdated? That could be another indication. I'm kind of going back to our question earlier, that one of your systems is outdated, right? Is it now costing you more to do business in one area than it did in the past? So I leveraged those two resources. I think any banker should be able to provide that information. Anyone who's got a commercial banker, and you don't have to have a gajillion dollars to have a commercial banker. If you have a business bank account, it's typically tied to a commercial banker. Ask them for, those percentages that they use for loan. And in your industry, they'll give it to you. If you have a CPA or a bookkeeper, I would just ask them to do the work. You're already paying them, ask them to do that.
Yeah.
Or if you're doing it yourself, at least it gives you a starting point, right?
I love that. That makes a lot of sense. And I didn't know that either. So you're saying that's a common thing. So you're a commercial banker. I've got mine's Great West, Great Midwest down the street here. I'm a local, little town local. They have 12 banks in this town, which blows me away. But anyway, so going there, you can get that information and make sure that you have the buckets filled to the right level in each category.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's and like you said, give it to your bookkeeper, man. That's what you pay them to do.
Yeah.
Well, unless you have a financial background, that's how your business operates. That's another.
Yeah. And
then you got it dialed in.
Yeah.
So as far as Chris's, we got a couple more questions here. It looks like, God, an hour and 45 minutes, man. This is just flying by. It's too fun. What questions should we ask when growth? Now here's the first negative one that's been coming on. If growth stalls, what should we be asking ourselves? And you can already look at a couple of things. What you mentioned a website is maybe that causing issues if you're a digital business or whatever, or is the people. But you're the expert. For Chris, how do you answer that?
Every business
questions.
Yeah. And this is, I love the fact that we're not just talking about all positive roses and, rainbows. Like, I think every business is going to see growth either level out or stall, or a combination of all of it. It's typically one of two problems. You should ask yourself, is it a traffic problem or a conversion problem? Traffic doesn't necessarily have to mean to the website. It could mean phone calls or
conversion from a lead into you're converting is what you're referring to there, correct?
Traffic into, it's a traffic problem, right? Which means someone is not seeing you. Is it that, only 10 people see you, but out of those 10, 9 become customers? Okay, it's not a conversion problem. It's a traffic problem. So you can identify, okay, suddenly I've become invisible. Why? Right? And then we can go down that road. If it's not a traffic problem, man, 500 people walk past my door every day, only 2 people come in. It's not a traffic problem, it's a conversion problem. You're getting the visibility, they're just not buying what you're selling, which means there's some aspect of trust that's not being instantly built, credibility, your messaging is off. So I tell people all the time, they get so concerned that it's this problem or that problem. It really comes down to 2 things. It's either traffic or it's conversion. Either people aren't seeing you or they see you and they're not buying from you. So what's changed? So if your growth is stalled, what's changed? Well, we still have 200 people walking in the door, but now no one's buying. Okay, well, I raised my prices 20%. Maybe the market can't handle 20% right now. Let's reduce it to 15. Can the market handle 15? Okay, well, I've got 200 people walking in and it helped, right? Now you figured out what the problem is, right? Or, man, I used to have, and we hear this all the time. People used to find me, Google used to send me business all the time. Now they don't. Now no one is seeing me. I'm spending $1,000 in Google ads. We had one company spend $30,000 a month on Google ads. You
What?
would think that they were getting thousands of leads, right?
Billions.
No, we were capped out at 6 leads. Now, granted, they're a higher dollar, so to recoup that 30,000, whatever, right? But it became a traffic problem. They were spending 30,000 and getting 6 leads a day. Then it went to, we're spending 30,000, we're getting 6 leads a week. It's a traffic problem. We made some corrections, right? But you have to be able to identify which of the 2 avenues is it. We fixed it,
Beautiful.
but you know.
Beautiful. Man, that seems really high though. Really high numbers anyway.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. That's crazy. So it really, you start breaking things down to its moment, its point. It's perceived. Let's not perceive. Break it down to. You're making it sound so damn simple. It's so this or that, right? I mean, it's just breaking down. Oh yeah, blind spots. You're eliminating those. That's why. So literally making an approach or taking the approach of this hour and a half. Well, no, hour and 45, almost 50 minutes. What we've talked about here is a very clear and simple. May not be easy all the time, but simple, right? Yeah. Simple, step by step. Okay, I got this. Let's take the emotion out of it. Let's get our clarity back. Let's spend a minute with our grandchild so we aren't burning out. Let's keep the focus on the business. Okay, sales is slowing down. It could be either this or that. Things start to break down pretty straightforward and pretty simple, right?
Well, and I'm going to tell you honestly, our industry, the marketing industry, makes billions and billions of dollars by making it look difficult. It's not. And I think it's just not. We're humans. We're more alike than we are different. Right now, I feel like this country is extremely divided. And the second we start to remember that we're more alike than we are different, and that it really is simple. Work on yourself, answers to the business come, right? If you're having a problem, it's not 50 million things. It's not because you didn't subscribe to this one program. It's not because you didn't spend $30,000 on an ad. Like, it's none of those things. It really is way more simple. And I think that's part of my why in doing the consulting, is because I just want to let people know it really is that simple. It's not, don't buy into all the hype. You can spend thousands of dollars on programs and products and all of these things, and it's really not any of that.
That's awesome. We've got our last question here, it looks like, unless somebody sneaks on. Is sometimes that happens as we're wrapping up. Yeah. But why don't we, Rob again? Yeah. It's in the same one, is it? No, it's not. No. Scared me after that last one I did. We've had like 3 or 4 people ask several different types of questions, Allie and so forth. So there's obviously some business people that are going through some struggling, and oh, now's the time. Hold on, before I get into Rob here, let me do this and put this here and that there, and make sure we have everything where we want it to be. Correct?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Beautiful. So let's go back to Rob here. And what did Leanna, well, why don't you read this then? Why don't you go ahead and read this?
What did Leanna learn about clarity from selling her agency? I learned.
Good question, isn't it?
It is. It is. And I feel like I learned a million things and I'm still learning. One, I learned that there's not a magic number where all your problems go away. I used to think if I could make 6 figures, 6 turn to 7, 7 turn to 8. There's not a magic number. It just, the pressures become more. The more you make, the more responsibilities, and the more you have at stake, right? that was something that I realized. And then I think the biggest gift that came from selling my business, that I have a lot more clarity around, is kind of what I was just talking about, that it's not fair to make people think that they're not enough because they're not doing the 1 million things that the gurus out there or the experts are saying that you have to do. I think when I wanted to, I knew I was going to go into consulting after we sold. I thought that was going to look like a fractional CMO position. I got clarity very quickly that that is not what is needed. What's needed is people having real conversations and helping people navigate in real time these little bumps or these hills or these mountains, right? And I think that that's the biggest thing, is that there's not enough people in my industry having real conversations without a desire to sell something outrageous. And that's the biggest clarity, is I think my motto in life is, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I think I have been given so much more than I will ever deserve. I definitely want to help people do what they are meant to do, right? And that only came after I had a minute to sit with, like, you sell the business. I thought I was just going to be done. Nope, I had to stay on, and I had to help with the transition and all of these things. It was in that time when that had closed that I sat with what I had actually accomplished and how can I use that to help others down the road. Everything else will fall in place.
That is fantastic. Well, why don't we take that point as we wrap up here, and for the 600 and some odd fans that are in your wheelhouse right now, what do you want to leave them with? Obviously, we have your contact information, but what message, and then I'll put you in the green room and we'll chat a little bit afterwards. I've got your contact information, so I will be getting back together with you, because I do have some questions of my own that maybe we could do something together with. But what do you want to leave these wonderful people as I close up 2 hours now? As I close up the show after you're sitting in the green room, what do you want to leave them with?
That it's easier than people make it out to be.
Yeah,
there are people that are willing to help you navigate it. I would be honored to answer any questions. You guys have my email, within reason, right? Yep. I'm not answering millions of questions, but if you have a question or two that I didn't, or you want some follow-up to a question that I answered, consider me a resource. But just know that it's way easier when you just sit and move with intention versus moving out of scarcity or fear or anything like that. So that's really all I've got. I don't know if
that's beautiful.
That magnificent. That's what I got.
Well, when you do a 2-hour magnificent show, it's hard to keep being magnificent all the time, isn't it? Well, you're used to it. You probably do it all the time. So this has been a great show. I love it. Obviously, maybe we could do other shows as well. Keep in touch. But I'm definitely going to get a feel for what that level is, because I built a business on my own for, like I said, for 30 years, and I built it off the back of being a salesman, and it's all great. That's all wonderful. But I have a different mission in this show. Like I said, this is done out of love, but I'm also in a different environment. I'm in a different world. And the whole digital, the whole marketing thing is different here than what I'm used to. I used to put a half-page ad on the back of the magazine. That kind of stuff is, what I'm talking about. You've lived in the old world and the new world. It's all about social media and different things now. So guys, folks, I'm going to give everybody a big wave. I'm going to do a couple-minute closeout, and I'll come out and join you in the back with some peanuts.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone.
Guys, you know what? I mean, this has been a powerful week already. We're ending off the week tomorrow with Simon of eLeaf Lab, and something we're working with them on the school regeneration project. Hey, that's an idea, Leanna. Maybe that's something I can look at as not a business, well, technically like a non-for-profit kind of business, but maybe that's something we should chat about and how to develop that a little bit further along. But so today, folks, I mean, opening up this show today, I knew this was because we do a lot of, we call scraping. We do a lot of research and information and gathering of what's going on. And Leanna, when you sent me the original information, it was a very basic 1-paragraph thing. I'm like, okay, what do I do with this? Okay, let me look. Then I started opening up your story, and it's fascinating, to be honest with you. And I didn't say this during the show, but next time you come on, let's keep the ring off because that thing is beautiful. It just lights up the room. And I'm a very big fan of jewelry, and Barbie got me into all that. But at the end of the day, folks, there was a lot of things for us to listen to, and there was a lot of things for us to pick up on. Obviously, Leanna is an amazing resource, and just from before I got to know her here today, I knew that this was going to be a good show, a great show, because didn't realize her presentation was as good as it is, which is always, to me, especially for somebody who's a consultant that's dealing with different personalities and different expectations and different moments and different spaces, to have that ability to get people to fall into your verbiage, to fall into your message is a gift. It's an important thing, because what you're teaching, what you're bringing across is a important message, is an important aspect in somebody's life. Yes, we're talking about business, but at the end of the day, in somebody's life, whether that's 30 people's families' lives, or if that's 5 people's families' lives, or if it's, a lifestyle business, it's just you and your partner or whatever. When you have the ability to take your message, Leanna, I'm talking about right now, and send that to somebody that may or may not be receptive, when you've got that additional gift of conversation or a gift of ability to bring that message along, all I'm saying is that at the end of the day, you can have certain consultants or different people that are there to help you, but unless you really buy into their message, your presentation really makes that a lot easier thing to achieve. And so, yeah, a little sales pitch there for her, but I point out what I point out because I see what I see, and Leanna, just like my grandbaby, you filled up my cup today. With that, I'm Rod Duff. I'm your host. Stay on the other side of the outro. You'll see producer Barbie here in a second. I'm sure she'll be calling me any minute. But stay on the other side. I always try and do that goofy little thing at the end. So with that, I'm this is Insights and Straight Talk. You're here for a reason, and this is the reason. The promises I made to you about Leanna were more than filled, unless I'm way off. But with that, I'm your host. I'm Rod Duff, and I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here, and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.